Ladies and gentlemen around the world, our good friends, our good family, our good neighbors, it is the bottom tier. I am Greg.
I am Matt.
And friends, we have a super special episode today because it is November and because we are American and therefore our culture and our traditions take precedence over everybody else's. It's Thanksgiving month here on Bottom Tier.
It's gather your friends, gather your family. It's time for FaBsgiving.
FaBsgiving right here on the Bottom Tier.
Yeah.
We are joined today by our very good friend of the show and local luminary, Jim. I forgot your last name. Jim, welcome.
Cooperider.
Yeah, guys, thanks for having me on the show.
I'm so sorry I forgot you. We talked about this 4 seconds ago, and man, today's been a day.
Yeah, no,
I remembered it because
nothing new.
I remembered it because right before it was just like, you know, you're like a fighting character with it, like Cooperider.
We had a whole conversation about it.
It's great.
It was wonderful. I feel just great already. So hey guys, how we doing today?
Good. Yeah, super excited to be on the show. Been a listener for a while. Big fan of your guys' content. So
well, we appreciate it, Jim.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
he, of course, gave us that compliment completely unprompted.
That was, yeah. Thank you so much.
I'm not being held against my will, everybody.
Nobody needs to come look for Jim. Jim's fine.
This makes it scarier. Listening to it right now, it makes it sound like
we just finished Halloween. We needed to have one more little nudge to finish him off with. But guys, the big news right now, of course, the torrential flood of Dynasty spoilers. Is anybody actually keeping up with these anymore, or are we all just kind of dazed on the floor across the room from the fire hose hitting us in the face?
I'm not gonna lie, I'm keeping up with it pretty well because
I'm impressed by that.
I work at night, and so every time my phone goes off, I'm like, oh, it's another Flesh of Blood leak, and it's great. I'm just hyped every time. Oh my gosh, this is a wild time.
Absolutely,
this is crazy spoilers.
Oh
so.
yeah, very exciting set, I think.
What do you think so far, Jim, of some of the stuff that we've seen? And we'll get more into detail and stuff in a few minutes. But just overall, what are your impressions so far of Dynasty, kind of where it's going to sit, how it's going to shake things up, just the 30,000 foot?
Absolutely, yeah. So I think, at least from the cards we've seen so far, they're definitely aiming to give some help to the decks and the archetypes that have been struggling. So we've seen some very specific support for Dawnblade Dory, and we've seen a lot of support for Brute, particularly for Rhinar. Some ways to generate extra resources.
Some of those Brute cards are crazy good.
And they're always fun too. That's one of the things I really have to say about Brute cards. There's that one, it's Savage Beatdown or something, where it's a 3 for 6, and if you discard a 6, it becomes a 12.
Yeah.
So cool stuff like that. Brute cards are always really fun. So even though I don't play Brute, I just I love Brute players, and I love seeing Brute cards get spoiled.
It's good that, and even some of those Brute cards, one specifically felt like it was very okay, cool. Levi can throw this in there and be able to banish stuff. They're doing support for every hero to a point where I think this set is it now makes sense to me why it's not coming out before Worlds, because I think it fundamentally changes everything.
It shakes everything up.
And I know everyone's going to say that about every single release of what's going to happen. But this one, Uprising was just kind of didn't feel like it changed a lot of things. While this feels, just besides adding heroes, this actually feels oh, there's so many build. I don't even know what build I'm versing as I see you across from me now. It's going to be crazy on the stuff that gets added.
Exactly.
So,
And kind of just to contrast, whenever Fest was getting spoiled, it was kind of immediately clear that some archetypes that were struggling weren't seeing support. So for example, we did not see any specific support for Dawnblade Dory. All the warrior support in that set was focused around dual wielding. But this time we're definitely seeing help for Azalea, help for Dory, help for the Brutes. So I'm really excited what that's going to mean kind of for the older heroes.
100%. Really, especially coming right off of Worlds when this is going to launch. That's sort of the prime time to really do it. We've kind of had, the big global sort of celebration and competition for the game and for the players in the community and the studio and everything. And then we immediately close the book on that chapter and move right on to the sequel, Fab 3.0.
It's honestly the way they started the reveals with the big news. We can get started with it. Is the Emperor being dead with
stabbed in the whatever.
That was honestly great reveal. I'm really excited for that hero, whose name is
Arachne.
Arachne.
Huntsman.
Yeah, assassin coming.
Spider
so
acne. Arachne. Just kidding.
That was potentially the worst joke I've heard all week.
Thank you. I just woke up. It's great. But no, Arachne looks amazing being an assassin class. And I was actually worried in the beginning of the set because I thought it was oh, cool. This supplemental set is just for Arachne because all the spoilers were just assassin. And I was oh man, well, cool. Like I'm really excited, but now like seeing all the other support gets me even more hyped for it. But that a class, guys, how do you think it's going to be? How do you think Arachne's going to do and everything?
Yeah, so I definitely think we're going to see Assassin kind of as like a more of a mid-range sort of thing. I know some people are excited about this like mill thing. Mill's kind of a big archetype in like Magic the Gathering, and I think Pokemon's had a mill deck at one point. And just for listeners who aren't aware,
I was like, I don't know.
No worries. So mill is a strategy in trading card games of basically removing cards from your opponent's deck, usually until you run them out of deck. And it's kind of like an alternate win condition that's really popular. And we have not seen that at all as anything you can do in Flesh and Blood so far. So that's exciting just to kind of see that come around. But at least from the cards we've seen spoiled so far, I don't think that will be Assassin's primary strategy. I think you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot if you're trying to kill somebody from 60 rather than from 40.
That makes sense. Like I honestly really like the archetype of like the contracts and like I don't know, how do we want to dive into this? There's a lot to unpack here.
Oh, there's so much. Let's just pick something and let's just start going.
So like with Arachne, like his hero ability, talking about the mill is
Let's start with contract, because his ability specifically talks about contract.
Okay, cool. So should I? Okay, so
do you
I'll say the ability and then we talk about contract, or
we can just talk a little bit about contract, what it does. So I have.
Okay, cool. Let's do it.
Jim came prepared. Everybody.
Jim's awesome.
Jim has a notebook out. There's a pen like attached to the paper. Like we're hardcore today.
Yeah,
this is real
very
bottom.
official, very official.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so contract is the assassin class's main mechanic right now. Really what contract does is it asks you to banish specific types of cards. So all the assassin contract cards can banish a card from your opponent's deck when it hits, and they give you an additional reward if you meet a condition listed on the contract. So for example, cards of a certain color, cards of a certain type, or cards of a certain cost.
Perfect. Yeah, that's a great way
really
to explain
concise and wonderful way to put that. Jim, thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
So usually the reward is silver, because that goes into play big time for Arachne. But Arachne's hero ability, kind of based off of that, says that whenever you play a card with contract, you may look at the top card or target opponent's deck. You may put it on the bottom. So it also gives you an opportunity to opt your opponent's deck to be able to kind of really make sure you hit those contracts and kind of know what's there. And so it's really interesting because they're able to really manipulate your other opponent's deck to kind of know what's going on.
Right, exactly. And sort of like, I was a chain player at the beginning, so I take it from kind of that perspective. But with a deck like that really wants to keep track of what it has at the top and really control how that works, having this particular hero ability to come in and start completely screwing that up, any archetype that relies on opt or things like that, that's going to be a huge change in how you're going to have to start thinking about how the turn flows, how the deck works, and how you stack that deck.
Absolutely. And I read interview with LSS. I don't remember who it was from, but they were talking about Arachne and how he was actually supposed to come out during Arcane Rising.
I saw that.
Yeah. That was really interesting.
Yeah. James White kind of mentioned that you can see sort of a sub theme of top deck matters in Arcane Rising, with stuff like Kano playing off the top or Azalea flipping cards in from the top. And it makes sense now in hindsight that Arachne also kind of plays off the top. Yeah. But like you said, that's kind of strong when there's a lot of decks who are trying to do that. If your whole thing is messing at the top of the deck, then it kind of becomes a problem.
Yeah. So it's just super interesting because it feels like was like, now knowing that, it makes so much more sense for that ability. And also it makes you go like, where'd Viscera come from?
Right.
Which is what I saw a lot of the comments saying. So that's interesting too. But it looks like a really fun hero with that. And so should we dive into the equipment first, or should we go into some of the contract cards of what this assassin does?
Let's start with the equipment really quick, because we sort of mentioned already that, contract, how it works, and that the reward tends to be silver. Let's talk about what we use the silver for.
All right, cool. So, we can start off with the Mask of Pure Edition, I guess, because that was the first one revealed. It's the cool devil-looking mask. It's an assassin.
It is pretty awesome.
It's the one he's wearing in his art, too.
Yeah. It's top
The one
notch.
horn coming off, like, just beautiful.
Which I'm excited to talk about, because his young hero art is, like, it's very weird to me, because, like, what is this thing? And, what is it? Because, like, we mentioned a couple weeks ago, like, talking, like, there's really no fantasy races in Flesh and Blood, but looking at his photo for the young hero, you can see on the other side of his face that's opposite of what this mask is. He has like the devilly looking horn, and then he's wearing a different mask. And so like is this dude just like a devil guy?
Yeah.
Or is he like a spider guy because his name's Arachne?
Yeah.
Like,
Or he's like two dudes taped together.
2 dudes taped together, 3 kids in a trench coat.
Absolutely.
yeah,
The best assassin. You never see them coming.
it's cool. Like I don't. He's a very interesting design.
Yeah, he definitely like they got the whole like visual design for him right. Like,
Yeah.
he looks really like creepy and definitely kind of like a dark evil guy. So
top notch.
yeah,
Top notch.
Well
Top
done,
notch.
LSS.
So the Mask of Perdition has 1 defense and has battle worn. But while Mask of Perdition is in your graveyard, at the start of your turn, you may destroy 2 silvers you control. If you do, equip Mask of Perdition. It has an attack reaction where you destroy Mask of Perdition, target assassin's attack action and card gains. When this hits a hero, banish the top card of their deck. So that again goes into being able to hit that contract a little bit more. And so you could use that on contract cards that say like you banish the top card of the deck or you have to make sure you banish a card to be able to fulfill the contract. This can be able to help with that so that you can get that contract done. So,
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of lets you double that value of like getting cards off the top. Like if you know there's a good one on the top, maybe you don't know what's below it, but you can still take 2 cards.
Yep. And then you'll be able to have a better odd of doing that, especially if you chose to use his ability to bury a card. You want to be like safe if it doesn't hit the first time to try to get those silvers out. So you can already see like we're already getting like a good like coin resource usage, which we haven't really, we kind of had with Kasai, but it wasn't like as strong as this. I would say this actually feels good for like,
It's actually like an integral part of how the turn flow is going to function. You pump the equipment, you regenerate the equipment, and then you can pop the equipment again. Just keep that chain going to get those additional effects and to really amp up the pressure. And that's just like, that's phenomenal to see them, add that in as a mechanic. So one of the biggest things is, oh, well, I broke that. I can't do anything with it. It's just kind of chilling there now. Totally wasted it. Is it the right time? Like all that kind of stuff. It sort of erases some of that while allowing you to keep your momentum up. And then they actually did something with the coins that wasn't just stacking them in the side and praying you get like a cash out or something.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, it's a little different than Kasai since there's sort of like a sustained value proposition here.
Yeah.
Of every silver you get, or I guess every 2 silver you get is an equipment you could get back. Whereas Kasai is really kind of you stack up your 6, you play Blood in Her Hands. That's sort of it. Maybe you'll play it again, but Blitz games usually don't last long enough that you ever play it again. So they're really just counters for playing Blood in Her Hands. They don't really do much more than that.
Yeah, exactly. And then especially with like the specific equipment and the effects you get off of it for this guy, like it makes a lot of sense why you want to keep the silver coming in.
It does, yeah.
Both with the mask and especially with the boots.
The boots, yeah. The Black Tech Whisperers. He's definitely a sustained value hero, which is why I think we'll kind of see him more in like in a mid-range strategy.
For sure.
100%.
Do you have the boots up right now?
I do. Black Tech Whisperers, legendary assassin equipment legs, 1 block. While Black Tech Whisperers is in your graveyard at the start of your turn, you may destroy 2 silvers you control. If you do, equip Black Tech Whisperers. As an attack reaction, destroy Black Tech Whisperers. Target assassin attack card, action card gains. When this hits a hero, it gains go again. Battle worn. So it's basically a recyclable snappies.
That's awesome.
Which is like the best boots in the game.
And it's needed because like if we pay attention, like as we talk about these other assassins card here in just a second, it's none of them have go again.
Yeah, that's definitely their big struggle with assassin class right now. And again, kind of like leaning more into that mid-range strategy. Not a lot of in-class go again, which means you need to find other ways to get value off cards in your hand.
Yeah.
Blocking is a great way to do that. Talk about it a little bit later, but every assassin card blocks 3, which is amazing. Only warriors so far have had that advantage.
Yeah, that's huge. That's really big. And they're that it's interesting because like I feel like so far this class is the biggest mind game class that we've seen.
100%
Like Warrior
is.
has the mind game, but this one's like, yeah, you can either give me resources and like take it, or like you gotta give me 2 cards because a lot of this
Warrior definitely plays a mind game, but you basically know what they're going to do. It's, I'm going to swing with my sword. And now, do I have a reaction or do I not have a reaction? Think about that.
Right.
Assassin has like 16 different things. Like, are we banishing yellow cards? Are we banishing blue cards? Are we banishing attack actions? Are we banishing non-attack actions? There's a lot more intricacy that goes into that. And especially once you start compounding like equipment effects, the effects of his dagger and stuff on top of that, you get some like really interesting paginations of like moves and turn choices that with, other like psyop sort of classes like a warrior or something, you wouldn't necessarily see like quite a depth like that.
Exactly, yeah. And I think kind of as the class develops, you'll also see a thing with maybe like not actually banishing cards you see or bottoming cards you see, just in an effort to like decrease the card quality of your opponent rather than actually like taking your banishes and getting your silver. Maybe sometimes it's better to like ruin your opponent's next turn by denying them a blue or something
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's just that like pure tactical, like, how am I going to screw with this person as much as possible on this particular turn?
That's true. I didn't even, man, you already thought ahead on that, because it's like if you are versing for a Briar, for example, and they're running like Channel Mount Heroic, and you see that card, you're like, cool, like I'm going to deny you this thing that you're banking on
100%.
a whole turn. And then, or be able to banish it too, like be like, it's banished, and it got that. So like, that's gross. It's really gross.
Yeah, no, very powerful.
That's gross. There's some weapons that they made for the Assassin's class, which is great. We don't have to worry just about Talishar, but you could totally run Talon. No, I'm just kidding. But they have
Talishar Arachne, you're here to hear first, folks.
Spider Bite is the rare weapon that has come with it. It's once per turn action, 2 resources. The attack has go again. It attacks for 1 and it has something called piercing. If this is defended by an equipment, it has +1. When this hits a hero, the next time they defend with 1 or more attack action cards this turn, those cards have -1 defense while defending.
Yeah,
And that's wild.
Yeah, very interesting weapon.
It's great. It's like a more expensive Kodachi, but it really punishes whatever, where it's like if you want to defend with that, it has +1. If you want to defend with, it's interesting on forcing your opponent to really wear and tear and like make the choices on it.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely like some pretty efficient damage. I mean, it's not in terms of like actual like resources per damage. Like 2-for-1 go again is not super excellent, but it can like get you some sustained value if it hits, if your opponent's playing a block later in the turn. And also the 2 cost actually synergizes really nicely with how assassin class cards are costed anyway. They're almost all 0 or
Mostly
1.
0s and 1s.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So like pitch a blue or pitch a yellow, swing your dagger, play an attack action will be a really common play pattern for assassin.
And like right when the hero was dropped, one of the big reactions I saw was, well, how is it going to actually push any damage through? Like all of these attacks, they have an on-hit effect. And they're coming in for like 4s and 5s, which is great. But like with we saw with Azalea as the Ranger, that having cards that are sort of in that range can be really good, but without the baked in go again and all that kind of stuff, it can be difficult to actually push it through.
Right.
So something like this that sort of you can attack with the dagger, they can try to block it, and then you can like razor or something on top of it, push a little bit of that damage through, and start the block sort of decrease on the opponent's side. Then you can start really pushing the point through with those 4 and 5 attacks, because now they have to block with 3 cards out of their hand in order to prevent the damage instead of just 1 or 2. So that's nuts.
Yeah.
Once you start the synergies going, like the whole thing is just dominoes falling over.
It's interesting you used Razor, because I do feel like a lot of people immediately like went there because it can give those cards go again as well. Be like, cool, I can have a bigger turn as the assassin, even though I'm not sure if I'm interested to be able to play it, because I'm not sure if Assassin's going to be wanting like the most go again to do that, because it's just going to be a mind game the whole time. But maybe in the beginning it wants to put out more damage first, as people are like not afraid to block, and then later on be able to make it just be a slow game where they have to really decide what to do against it. So
yeah, I think you might see some of those kind of like value go again cards like Enlightened Strike and Art of War, which I mean those are staples anyway, but they're particularly good in Assassin, just both on the ability to kind of make the chain go wider and then give some additional value with Art of War to like those on hits.
Yeah, that's true. And have the Art of War, I always forget about that.
All right, we're just going to start building assassin decks here in a second. So let's let's move on to something else. Let's only do like 1 or 2 more assassins cards, because we seriously have like 400 of these things, and we got like 1,000 other spoilers to get through as well. And I want to talk a little bit about Runeblade and like illusionist stuff and things like that. So
I have a couple of standout cards that
what got Jim? Hit us.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've already talked about the Black Tech Whisperers. That's definitely a super core card for assassin. The next one that interested me a lot is called Leave No Witnesses.
Yes.
So it's a majestic red, so you only get 1, but it's a 0 for 4, and it banishes the top card if it hits. Additionally, it banishes their arsenal if it hits. So this is a really interesting card, because this is one of the first times we've seen like a way to attack arsenal with a 1-card play.
Yeah.
So there will be times where assassin like blocks out 3 cards and then just puts down Leave No Witnesses, and then is basically threatening at least taking your arsenal from you and a card off the top, which I think is a really good,
which is huge. It's basically a free command and conquer.
It is. Additionally, you get the silver every time it banishes a red card, and everybody wants to arsenal their good cards, so you're going to find the red in the arsenal a lot of the time, So this is one of those contract cards that's begging to be blocked.
I didn't even. Yeah,
yeah.
That's
Every time,
spicy.
and especially playing into a hero like Dromai or the Emperor or something, where they run almost
All reds.
exclusively reds. Like this is going to be extraordinarily powerful.
Like a huge value.
Poor Dromai.
Poor Dromai.
I think the other thing we have to talk about is just to have a discussion point is the specialization card, because it is very fascinating.
Yeah, it's very fun.
Oh man, Regicide is so cool.
Regicide, yeah. It's legendary racketing specialization. When this hits a royal hero, they lose the game. When the contract chain closes, you lose the game. Regicide can't be defended by cards with the same name as cards in the defending hero's banished zone.
When Matt texted me this card when it dropped, I wasn't paying attention. He was on top of it. He texted this to me and I responded back, "What? This is too good. What is this?" Like, this card is nuts, man.
Especially with the banish part, where like if you're banishing tons of stuff and they're running multiples, it's going to be like, if it's near end game, you're
it's especially with a deck like Viscerai or something where you only have like 6 cards, but you run them rainbow. Like, that's crazy. You banish the right cards and suddenly he has nothing he can defend with. And if he's rocking like the Crown of Dominance or whatever it's called, like you're done. There's nothing to respond to.
Yeah. And, just nice extra value to blue block 3. So even in those matchups where you can't actually like trigger the on hit, you can block with it, you can pitch it, still make some use from it.
It does hit for 3, which is pretty easy to block. And also it has another thing is like the hero has to be royal. And so that rose another question for me is, they made this class to go against Royal, which is fascinating against the whole like Arcane Rising thing, but that's another point. But the Royal, are there going to be good Royal cards? Like, will there be like someone like, oh, I'm running Royal Leviathan today, or I'm running Royal?
I'm sure we'll get into this in a few minutes, but they've dropped a few additional cards that have additional Royal effects. I haven't been super like blown away by them.
Yeah, they're not too exciting so far.
Nah, pretty middling.
Yeah,
honestly.
So like the specialization is just kind of more like, I'm here just in case,
right?
I'm here for the Emperor. That's about it.
And something that I haven't seen a lot of people talking about, but I'm sure that they are, is the third line where it says, when the combat chain closes, you lose the game.
Yeah.
So it's a total like, you either get it out like right at first when you're super, super confident that you can push it through with like a razor or something like that, or it's like a 1-1. We've traded turns back and forth like 3 times. I'm just done. Like Regicide, let's go.
It's a huge flavor one too, and I love cards that have this kind of like baked in flavor. If you manage to assassinate the Emperor, you win on the spot. If you fail, his guards get you, and there's nowhere you can go. So
exactly.
You just lose on the spot.
It feels so good. It's such like an interesting card, even if it's not going to see a ton of play. And it fits right in. One of the best cards in the set, even if nobody ever uses it.
Exactly. Yeah. Just a great piece of design.
And I feel like the feeling that's going to happen when you play it is going to be both like exciting and terrifying, and receiving it, you're going to be like, like,
oh no.
They have a plan. So I'm just going to do full block and see what happens. And then it's like, well, I can push past your full block. So
yeah,
pretty much. Yeah. Unless you get defense reactions hidden somewhere, but
right. But still like really interesting. I want the art as like a print.
Oh yeah.
Just like
we're going to get a mat. There's going to be a mat for sure.
Oh my God. I hope so.
Oh, yeah.
I need one.
Yeah. It's cool. It's really cool. So with that, maybe we should jump into like one Royal card, and because we mentioned it as like, I was trying to segue, but it didn't do very well, but, let's just, there's too much to go through. So
there's too much.
Yeah, well, you pick the next card.
Sure, I have a couple more assassin cards I want to talk about.
Yeah, let's do it
really quick. I'll go through them really quick. So another one that I think is really good is Annihilate the Armed.
Yes,
a 1/5 on the red, and then the contract is to banish attack actions. Which I mean, man, everything but wizards running attack actions these days. So that's gonna be a contract.
And even wizard every once in a while, I see him running.
Yeah, you'll see. Icelanders nowadays.
Yeah,
the battle wizard deck actually runs some attack actions. So. That card's just good value. Again, I like that because it's a 1/5. So you pitch a blue, swing your knife, attack with that.
Even if you don't hit them and get the banish effect, like they still have to double block. They're still using 2 things out of their hand, and that's just powerful.
Yeah, super good. Then the other one I want to talk about is Cut to the Chase. So this is an attack reaction. 0 for +3 on an assassin attack action.
Yeah.
Which is amazing because this is one of their few cards that's actually above rate. Normally for like a +3 attack reaction, it's either conditional like Iron Song response or it costs 1. So this is an unconditional +3 on assassin attack action. And then you also get an additional opt, I believe, like an additional reverse opt or anti-opt when it hits.
Look at the top card of the defending hero's deck. You may put it on the bottom.
There you go. Yeah. So it's just baked in. Doesn't even have to hit. So just kind of a nice way for them to kind of increase that value. Because one of my concerns with Assassin so far has been that all their cards are like on rate. So they have like 0 for 4s and 1 for 5s. And in CC in particular, it's important that you can sometimes break that math to get over decks like Guardians or to like outrace decks like Ninjas and Runeblades. So this kind of helps them do that in a way.
Now, it is important to note that that cut to the chase only applies to assassin attack actions with contract.
Right.
But considering that they all have contract at this point,
so far,
whatever. But in future sets, we may get some that don't have contract. So it's important to keep that in mind looking towards the future.
Very true.
But for right now, incredible freaking card.
I'm glad, like you said this earlier, but like LSS kind of learned the lesson because they were like merchant, and all of a sudden it's like there's no merchant support. This is like, all right, we hear you. Here's assassin. Here's tons of assassin support,
right?
And like you all can build an assassin deck, and we're gonna see it. Like,
right, it's a full class. It's fully supported.
It's great. So I'm excited to be able to now have this new hero and build it, especially because the young hero is rare, which means it's legal and common everywhere.
Yeah,
yes, sir.
Pretty big format for us locally.
I'm so excited.
Yeah.
It's gonna be assassinating everyone.
Assassinating everyone. Yeah, probably.
With that, what should we do next? Should we do Dory? Because I think that was the first one that was like a different. The Iron Song Pride was the first one that was revealed after the assassin stuff, which is exciting. So everyone was hyped off the assassin, and then the question was, will this just be an assassin set? And they were like, no, we have Iron Song Pride, which is a warrior instant aura, which is huge.
It's a new card type as well.
Yep, a new card type. Put a +1 counter on the target sword you control. When Iron Song Pride leaves the arena, remove all +1 counters from swords you control. At the beginning of your end phase, if a sword has not hit this turn, destroyed Iron Song Pride. So this really helps with Dawnblade and can help with any warrior, which is pretty awesome. But that's huge. Like Dawnblade already does this kind of by itself, and plus with the other specialization of Dory, you can eventually like pretty much have a turn where you're like, here you go, +3 on this guy, and it's kind of, that's insane. Where it's just instantly kind of, it costs 1 for Dawnblade or 2.
Yeah, Dawnblade costs 1,
so it's like 1 for 6 in a turn technically if you like have this, which is insane.
Yeah, no, it's definitely kind of a double down card, right? It's really good since your ability kind of played as a reaction. You know, if they perfect block, you can both get your second swing with Dawnblade and get a counter right now. And then as long as you can, you know, kind of keep that going and hit every turn, you're going to keep those bonus counters. But then if you get hit by an unmovable or something, you're losing all your counters, which you were going to do anyway because that's what happens with Dawnblade. But, you know, again, free counters is always good. Helps her get going, which was kind of always been her issue in like the recent metas.
Yeah.
Is like if people do let her hit, Dawnblade becomes really strong.
But everybody knows not to allow that at this point.
Exactly, right? It's like if you can't outrace her, like if you're a Runeblade or a Ninja, you just do that. Otherwise, if you're like a Guardian or an Illusionist, you just block out. And she can never really like get over like blocking correctly. And like cards like this definitely help her do that.
Absolutely. And I think this also like helps with the other Dawnblade as well, the Dawnblade Resplendent or whatever. Yeah, so this can help with that too by giving it pretty much its old ability while keeping like the better effect of like if this sword gets go again, you'll be able to just attack again with it, no problem. So that's going to help with that too, of being able to like attack twice and no matter what, almost pretty much. So,
right, exactly.
So it's pretty good. Like Dory's definitely going to have a little comeback with, hopefully be able to get there. I feel like this set, like LSS is like everyone needs like living legend points. Everyone needs, you get some points. You get some points. We want to see you gone so we can make new heroes. So yeah, that was a cool one. I really enjoyed that one. What else? What card did you like, Greg? What's really stood out to you?
Man, the problem is I like most of these cards. Like there hasn't really been one, like even the ones that I'm not blown away by are still like I can see the purpose and I can see the functionality in them. One of the big ones for me is one of like the ones that is not that big of a deal when you're taken just in and of itself, but is a huge deal when taken with everything else, and that's the Crouching Tiger.
Oh yeah.
Like that whole sequence of stuff for Ninja is insane.
Yeah, it's a new archetype, a whole new Ninja archetype.
Yeah. I'm ready for it. Like I'm already like brewing Ira builds in my head and stuff. Like this is just, it's super, super interesting.
Crouching Tiger is interesting. It's we saw kind of like the spoiler happen for the promo cards going on right now, where you build where you build 3 Crouching Tigers. Then they revealed it, and it's a zero cost for
0 power, ephemeral, which is a brand new keyword. If Crouching Tiger we put into a graveyard from anywhere, instead it ceases to exist, which is an existential crisis waiting to happen. And then it has go again. So you can just build up chain links with this. There was a card that gives all of your Crouching Tigers +1. I forget what it's called. But then it has a couple of things that it can combo off of, and it's good for building, of course, chain links for a bunch of other things. Because it's a 0 with go again, you create 3 of them in your bandit zone. You just play 3 of them right there, and boom, suddenly you're at chain link 4.
Yeah,
things like
the rupture cards.
Yeah,
Matt
exactly.
Yesterday, yeah.
Rupture hits, things like flying kick that chain link 3 or above it gets a bonus. Like all of that stuff suddenly gets much easier to pull off.
Exactly. Yeah.
So like this could really like put Ninja on even more steroids than they're already on.
Exactly. Yeah. And there's definitely like a Magic Christmas Land OTK. I was talking to some people on Discord today, but if you can get, there's a one that like makes Crouching Tigers equal to the Crouching Tigers you control if it hits. And it's a 2 base power, so you can get one off of Mask of Pouncing Links. It also has combos, so you can get one off Katsu. So potentially turns where Katsu does like Predatory Streak, plays the thing that gives them +1, plays out 4 of them, plays the thing that gets him 4 more, plays it again, gets 8 more. And if you stack that all right, it does like roughly 40 damage without getting too insane, doing stuff like double Art of Wars.
And it's all for 1s, which is like seeing like of course, like we all learned from Kodachi, where it's like, not a lot of people block the Kodachis, right? But also we see it with Dromai, where it's like, I'm going to attack you individually with these dragons, like 1 by 1. And people are like, because it just requires so much, like whatever. So that's huge. Like that's really scary build.
A good clear for a Ninja, and just overwhelming Tiger power, which is wild. It's what I'm calling my first Ninja deck with this archetype, by the way. Overwhelming Tiger.
It's cool. Like I'm really excited to see this build. I think we'll be able to see Katsu kind of come back up, utilizing it, and Ira be able to utilize it in Blitz, and Benji could use it really well too. Like it's used,
and really anything that gives Benji a little bit of help, I'm 100% for. I don't know why, but I have a super soft spot for that guy.
Yeah. And of course, I want to see the build with Fi too, but I think Fi's kind of like, I'm not sure if Fi's going to be the one that's going to utilize the Tiger as much as everyone else. So
yeah, I'm not sure we'll see that. Particularly, he already gets free chain links anyway, so he's not exactly super excited by like 0 for 0s since he has a 0 for 1 anyway.
Yeah, so I'm excited. That's really cool for Ninja, and I didn't see that coming. So that was a huge surprise for me.
It was pretty great. And then there's one other sort of set of cards that I wanted to bring up, and those are the new Ash cards that we're getting. The ones for Dromai specifically, that when she invokes a particular dragon, they don't have Phantasm. Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, one of them is for like the dragon where you can't play instants, which is like the decks that are gonna play instants aren't gonna be breaking your dragons anyway. So that one's kind of a little bit like, why is this a thing? But like the Vincerakai one, he's a 1 life but 6. It does 3 arcane if he hits.
Yeah,
taking Phantasm off that is amazing because you never want to like 2-card block that guy to prevent 9. But like, I mean, I don't know. Are you really gonna like throw down 2 cards every time until you can kill him?
Right.
Like, it would be like now I have to force myself to kill this guy, which is pretty cool. And it's 0 cost, so you're just like, it kind of removes like having to produce the Ash. And I think they have go again. They
do not have go again.
They don't.
That's the one kind of opportunity cost there.
So it's kind of like you attack and then you are setting up for your next turn in Arsenal and all that type of stuff.
Exactly, yeah.
But it still counts as a red card, so you can trigger Dromai's effect off of hero effect off of it. If you have a way to give it go again, you can start chaining stuff on top of that, and it's not really hard to chain in a Draconic deck. So there's a lot of utility here that I think is really going to change the way that Dromai is played and make her a much bigger threat.
Yeah, and I think the Dromai decks that have been succeeding lately are the more defensive ones who are waiting for late game to actually set up the dragons.
Yeah.
Because you can kind of present problems for yourself if you put too many dragons out and start enabling your opponents like farm on hits. We've seen this sometimes with like Dory Dawnblade will just farm up like 8 counters by killing dragons and all of a sudden Dromai can't deal with it anymore. We've seen ninjas will like farm Mask of Momentum by like killing Ashwings and killing dragons. So these are kind of a nice way to like bank for late game. So you can play an Ash for a specific dragon that you're saving. I mean, it'll sit out for 10 turns, but whenever you end up putting down Vincerakai, your opponent's like in a lot of trouble.
It's worth it to have had it set up for, since the beginning of the game for that one clutch moment where you really need to swing in with that big dragon.
Exactly, yeah.
The one thing is that I hope is that we don't have like special ash for every dragon, because like that's,
I think there's some we won't see, like Chromai in particular, the one who gives you an action point if it
and
gets
it's free
phantasms.
already. Yeah,
I don't think you'll ever see that one. I doubt you'll see it for the legendaries. It's possible. But I mean, like Tomeltai, he's the one that destroys equipment. Him without Phantasm would just be like
OP.
Devastating for certain.
Way
decks.
OP.
that'd be gross. Yeah. So I'm excited. Those are really cool cards, and I'm glad we got to see that. And I'm still like waiting for the hidden dragon to show up. You know? What I'm
Yeah,
saying?
I think we'll see it. Yeah.
We have to have the joke has to have a hat. Like,
It's got to come full circle.
yeah. Now this is about those jokes. Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Let's go. Actually, surprisingly, we just had 3 cards drop as we're talking.
Oh, that's fun actually.
So I can talk about them
man.
real fast. We have Blessing of Patience. I don't know if you guys saw this. It's a Guardian action aura.
Oh, I'm excited.
At the start of your turn, destroy Blessing of Patience. The target hero gains 3.
Gain 3 life. So more life gain. Okay.
Yep. And
What's
then
the rarity?
It's a rare, and it costs 1.
Okay. Yeah.
That's not bad.
Blocks
Yeah.
for 3.
Yeah. So I think you'll see that
Blue?
in what's the
Red.
Valda?
Red.
I think you'll see that in Valda.
Yeah, 100%
She's
that.
kind of big on like that really defensive strategy in Blitz.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe could see it in Bravo. Not super sure. I don't think we'll see it in Oldhim just because he's got better cards to play.
You'll see it in Yoji for sure.
Oh yeah, dude, I've actually been thinking about like a Yoji life gain in Blitz. It's kind of similar
Right.
to Valda. You just don't have like the condition to like end the game as easily, but you get an extra life, which is a lot. 1 life is a lot in Blitz.
Oh yeah,
It makes
for
a big
sure.
difference. 1 life is a lot in this entire game.
It is
doesn't matter
actually.
what
Yeah,
format
Team
you're
of
playing.
Inches, absolutely. Yeah.
The next card is another ninja card. It's
Yes.
a Blessing of Ki. At the start of your turn, destroy a Blessing of Ki, then create a Crouching Tiger in your banish zone. It gains +3, and you may play it this turn. 3 defense, rare, costs 1. It's an aura.
That's actually pretty good.
That's nice. I like
That's
that.
a good chain ender, like on turns where you might like, maybe draw a card off Massive Momentum and it's like too expensive to play. Maybe you can have that to kind of cash in for a later turn.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a 0 for, I guess it's a 1 for 3 next turn, which is like not horrible, and it has synergy with all those like other Crouching Tiger cards. So it's
And
cute at least.
Well, it has to be, at the start of your turn, destroy. Yep. So, it definitely helps you for the next turn, which is good. Another one is called Blessing of the Occult. It's another aura. So we got 3 auras in a row.
Is it a Rune
It's for
Blade?
Rune Blade. Yep.
Yeah.
It's cost
Yes.
1. At the start of your turn, destroy Blessing of the Occult, then create 3 Rune Chant tokens.
That is actually an insanely good card. That was a really, really good card.
Yep. That's
the first Rune Blade card. That was good.
Yeah, the others have been a bit of a struggle.
Every Rune Blade deck. And yeah, I've been kind of upset with the Rune Blade stuff. But Rune Blade, out of all the classes, needed the least support, I feel like. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that's a very controversial opinion.
No.
But I
So-
mean, yeah, it's kind of your copies 4 through 6 of Read the Runes. I mean, it costs 1, but like 1 for 3 rune chance is not that bad.
No, it's huge. So like those are cool. We're gonna see a lot more auras, which is nice. Every class is getting an aura, which is really cool. So
I guess it's a non-attack action too, right? So
Yeah.
like, even on turns, like you could do cheeky stuff. Like you have an attack with Go Again. You then use your Spellbound Creepers, flash that in, and then still swing with Rosetta. So you're kind of cashing in a little bit for next turn while still getting your Rosetta swing this turn. Pretty solid.
there you go. Look at that. That's a good combo. I have no idea. I don't talk Rune Blade, so
that's okay. I don't talk warrior, so I was just over here a minute ago going like, cool, swords.
Counters.
Woo.
hey, Warrior's really cool, all right?
This card seems like it sucks to me. Maybe I
Okay.
should just be quiet.
We do have to talk about the legendary nobody wants to get, which happens every set.
So someone in Discord had an interesting observation today that changed my opinion on that card.
Oh,
I'll wait for you to talk about it.
Okay, cool. Well, everyone knows that I have a bad relationship with Bolton now. It's called Spirit of Arena. It's a legendary card. Legendary, you can only put 1 in here. If Spirit Arena would be put into your soul, instead put it into the arena, you may play Lumina Ascension as though it were an instant. It's a 0 cost legendary card. There you go. So talk about it. Go for it.
So here's why that card is actually interesting. Lumina Ascension has Go Again. And when you play a non-attack action with Go Again as an instant, you gain an action point. So this creates a situation now where Bolton, if he's going to try to do like a Sabres Lumina combo, needs essentially 2 less cards in Soul to get the combo going. Additionally, it helps on turns where he's like doing stuff like attacking with Raiden. Just playing your Lumina Ascensions now with no other support lets you swing Raiden 3 times. Because you get 2 action points.
That I did not think about that.
Yeah, neither did I. A lot of us didn't. We were talking about it last night. We're like, oh, like this card's like
Oh
like,
boy, I can play
it's
Lumina. Woo!
It's like, oh, yeah, you respond to the frostbite by like dumping your Lumina. It's like whatever. But yeah, it's
did
actually.
you guys
pretty
actually
good.
think about this? Says some genius on Discord.
Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, that's actually good.
Cool. Well, maybe we'll see the rise of Bolton on that.
I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, I think we still need. I mean, you and Matt and I have had this conversation before, but charge is just such like a card expensive mechanic from
It
a
really
card
is.
standpoint. Like pitch a card, play a card, charge a card is a huge ask on a lot of turns. So I think until we see ways to kind of like cheat cards into Soul or like more good zero cost cards,
There really needs to be an easier way to get things into your Soul. If you could, if there was something that allowed you to like search out a deck, a card from your deck or something, and put that into the Soul and then go again or something like that, I think would really start to elevate Bolton a little bit. But until something with that sort of utility comes across, I think we're going to see him like chilling right down at the very, very
I just
bottom.
think mini Lumina Ascensions where it's because Lumina Ascension is great where it's like you take the card off the top of your deck and you put it into your Soul. I think they just need to have some cards that are just like allow you to just top card, put it into your Soul and see if it hits.
yeah,
Like that'd be cool. Like I like that where it's similar to like Chain and like the thing with Light and Shadow. Like Shadow was all about like banishing and seeing if you get a hit and doing all this type of stuff with Chain. Leviah was like putting stuff in the banish zone. Like this needs to be kind of like the Chain where it's like you banish into the Soul, pretty much, or just go into the Soul.
And that makes sense if they could work it around to be more that sort of flow. I think Bolton would start to get actually pretty good.
Yeah, he kind of has the advantage, right, of like he can split damage between like weapon attacks and attack actions, which is kind of unique to him for the most part. But yeah, it's just he doesn't really have that like value proposition right now. So I just like to see more cards that are pushed a little bit. Nothing too crazy, but just kind of ways for him to like break the math of the game.
Just be more consistent because like he's just kind of banking on a roulette where it's just kind of like I am stacking until I hit this turn and then I win because it is hard to break through Lumina Ascension. Like that is a very scary turn when you see
Lumina is a
it happen.
great card,
Yeah.
but you can't build an archetype around one great card.
And that's why I think you've seen Bolton's lean so hard into like the Lumina archetype is like Raiden's interesting, right? It's a 0 for 3 if you charge, which isn't hard explicitly for him to do if he's trying to do like an aggro game plan, but it's not enough for him to like beat the other aggro decks. And if he's doing that, he doesn't block well enough to like also kind of just, improve his position in the game. So he's forced into the situation where he's relying on Lumina Ascension to create value.
And that's bad.
Yeah, exactly.
My first hero. Don't like him. No, I'm just kidding.
It's okay, man. Bolton one day will be the best hero. And
He's
then,
fixable at least.
oh,
which is not-
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Poor genius, what you need.
Cool. Well, then I'm excited to get that legendary. It'll be good. It'll be a good card to get. It's just
If nothing else, it's pretty good.
the art is
yeah.
good, and it talks about Arena, which is the cleric. So
Right?
there you go. With that, we do kind of sticking with Light. I did see that a new Light Illusionist card came out.
Oh,
Yeah,
man,
Well,
yeah.
too little, too late, but it's a good card.
It's great. It's great for Blitz.
Probably not bad in Blitz.
It's
Yeah.
beautiful. The Herald art is always good. It's
Oh,
another
yeah,
angel,
the Marvel art is
Gorgeous.
amazing on that card.
With the frameless and the whole, oh my God.
and it's an invoke for Prism, which is huge.
is, yeah.
So it's invoke Soraya, legendary transform your
Soraya.
Soraya. Transform a spectral shield to control, and the Soraya Arcane of Knowledge. Once per turn, 2 attack. Whenever Soraya attacks, you may banish a light card from your hero's soul. If you do, Soraya deals 1 arcane damage to any target. When Soraya deals damage, you gain that much life. It's a ward 4, so that means if you just get attacked, it will automatically block for you, which is he kind of keeps the spectral shield thing going. But it attacks for 4 and it has 4 life. So
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting invoke. There's a little bit of risk there, right? If you get hit as Prism, while you're not going to lose that 4 life, you'll just lose her. So you don't really have the ability to like use your life total to protect your summons like Dromai can sometimes do.
yeah.
But just the turn you play it and attack with it, it's big value. It's gaining you some life. It's swinging in for, what is it, 4?
Yep.
Just, I mean, not too bad. It costs 2, I think, right?
It does cost 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2 to invoke and then 2 to swing with. So
It's to pay for the swing. So
yeah. So it's 4 for 4, but you get the arcane damage on top of it. You get the life gain on top of it, and you get a card out with ward 4. So when they come swinging in with their 3 or 4, beat stick, that's just canceled. You don't have to burn anything from hand or anything like that. You just have that ready to go.
It's also yellow pitch. You can get one in your deck. So if anything, if you're like, you know what, I'm going to save this for later, you can be able to use it to kind of give go again to everything with Luminarius and all that stuff. So
yeah, I mean, Lunars is gone in CC, but like for playing it right now in Blitz.
For Blitz.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's the only way you can play it
Right.
right now.
Exactly. Yeah. Although I did see James White did say in an interview recently that they're planning for the Monarch heroes, at least the hero talent class combos, to make a return in 2023.
Yeah, next year at some
Yeah.
point.
So
So,
it might not be
like
too
Illusion
long.
of Shadow Runeblade coming back around.
Yeah, not too far off.
Yeah. That,
I wonder how they're going to do it. That's next week's episode.
how they gonna do it?
Maybe next month's episode. This month is packed with stuff.
This month is really packed. So that's cool. We got the light hero support. I haven't seen shadow cards yet, so we haven't seen Shadow Runeblade or Shadow Brute stuff happen yet. But it's good. It looks like every kind of place is kind of getting some support, which is cool.
Yeah, it's definitely something you want to see kind of at this point in the metagame.
The one thing is, like, we did get that Runeblade card, but we do have a couple other Runeblade stuff. Like, there's a new Runeblade weapon.
Yeah, which is kind of neat. Like it's interesting. It's more of a more of a control rune blade, which is an interesting sort of way to take it. Annals of Sutcliffe, once per turn action for 3 resources, draw a card. If an attack action card and non-attack action card are pitched this way, create a rune chant token. Rare weapon, Runeblade weapon, book, 2-handed.
Hey, you know what? I can't wait for Runeblade Sutcliffe to show up for as a hero.
I'm pretty ready for it, frankly. He's probably going to be the next Shadow Runeblade. Just
That'd be cool.
Throwing that out there.
Yeah.
But no, this is pretty neat because like non-attack and attack action cards, like that's all a Runeblade does. You want a non-attack, you want an attack, so the decks are set up that way. So that's easy. So 3 resources, a little expensive, but you get a card draw off of it, and you get a rune chant off of it. So it's not that much more expensive than something like Grasp of the Arknight or something, where you're already paying 2 plus maybe extra if you already control rune chants, and you get a draw on top of it. So it's kind of neat.
If anything, like, what I like about all these like weapons being revealed and the equipment's being revealed is it allows us to take it and try to build something with it and maybe come across something that we didn't see before.
Yeah, these are definitely like build around weapons we've seen so far, or like kind of weird value matchup weapons like the new warrior sword.
Yeah.
Maybe accepting the ranger bow, which is kind of targeted support again for Azalea. Like rock is really weird, and like this Sutcliffe's book is really weird. So
There's the axe and the sword.
that's right.
Yeah.
The axe is weird too.
Yeah.
But,
The axe is really
All the
weird.
weapons are weird. Like they're all basically what the class wants to do in some way, just shifted a little to the left and looked at from like down below or something. It's kind of nuts actually, and it really it feels like honestly a little bit of a breath of fresh air, because like I don't know about you guys, but it seems to me that things are getting very like orthodox almost. Like there is a way to play this hero that is optimal, and if you don't play it this way, you're going to have a bad time. And I feel like a lot of what Dynasty is doing is really coming in and saying, no, you can actually play it in a bunch of different ways, and here's some stuff to help you do that. So like when we look at like the Annals of Sutcliffe or something, yeah, it looks a little funny. We don't know if the value proposition is there the way that Runeblades are run currently. But if you shift away from like, more of a red heavy sort of deck to something a little bit more blue heavy, you start to go a little wider, you start to go a little bit more control based, like that opens up some really interesting like play paths. Like if you don't come in with any like real attack actions, like if you focus even more heavily on rune chant generation and coming in with arcane and stuff, you can play a really turtly Runeblade. And I feel like some of the support's coming to really like enable those sort of alternate play strategies.
I think you're right on that, and kind of bounce off of that is I think it's kind of more geared towards the reveal being more special. Like when you have to reveal your hero, like for the die roll.
Yeah.
Like instead of coming up being like, oh, Viscerite, you already have your strategy, blah, blah, blah. Instead, it's going to be like, oh, Viscerite. Oh, with this, like it's going to make
Are you playing a sword Viscerai or a book Viscerai?
Yeah, it's going to be like, oh, that's interesting. I don't think anyone's going to go off Rosetta Thorn. That's going to be there until
Rosetta's too good. But when Briar gets banned and your choices
have some
are
options,
yeah, this might become something you actually look at then.
Yeah, but like with that though, like that reveal is gonna be more special with all this stuff coming in, because it's like, oh, you're playing rock version, and like what do I have to look out for? Like it's gonna change, like where there's not like a catch all for this class or whatever. It's gonna be more like a game, I guess. Like where you're gonna feel like more options with these heroes, which I think like this set so far has really impressed me to be like, on the hype train again of like, yeah, this looks great.
Yeah, I think it helps out kind of those left field strategies.
Yeah.
Since you only reveal your hero before you reveal anything else. So if
Yeah.
you're on like a Rock Brute or on a Sutcliffe's Runeblade, they don't actually know that when you present your hero.
Yeah.
But even like certain archetypes, like we're talking about like the Crouching Tiger Katsu, you won't know that until he puts down a Crouching Tiger.
Right, exactly.
And then you're like, oh snap.
Yeah.
I made a mistake.
Yep.
It's gonna be cool. So I'm excited for that aspect because we're gonna be able to do a lot with deck building and a lot of experimenting with this new set, and it's gonna kind of like bring some of the old cards back in a different way to kind of bounce off of these cards as well. So
And speaking of new archetypes, can we talk about the new Mechanologists?
I was
Oh,
just
yeah. For a
about to
second?
bring
Yeah,
up Dash
yeah.
because my God, Mechanologist is popping off right now.
Yeah.
Like, really, some of the best cards in the set so far have been mech cards, including the one that everyone's talking about, the Nitro Mechanoid.
Yeah.
Yep, Voltron.
Voltron.
It's
Yeah.
Voltron
Simply put.
in Flesh and Blood.
It is.
It's awesome. I want one. I'm building a whole Dash deck around it. I don't care what anybody says.
Yeah. No, it's a fun card.
Even if it's not viable, I'm forcing it. It's happening.
I'm excited. Dash is gonna see some love. So
And I was chatting with somebody. It's actually kind of an interesting card for Data Doll because
It is.
the item that you need to actually like sacrifice to play this thing qualifies for like the put into play banish off of Data Doll. It's a low enough cost to do that. So Data Doll can kind of just like play her Data Doll thing for a few turns, banish these things by boosting or whatever,
Yeah,
and just get them out for
because
free.
really the only items you need to have on the field, other than the invoke card, basically, are 3 hyperdrivers.
Right,
hyperdrivers are all 2-cost items. Data Doll procs that, so
and they now made hyperdriver
rainbow
every color.
hyperdrivers.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you run 6 of those in Blitz, or if I think Data Doll's getting an adult version here soon.
I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah.
So
What made you say that?
so there was a Mechanologist card that dropped called BIOS Update, where in art, if you look like right behind, like towards the background a little bit, there's like a character model for something that is definitely like a Data Doll-esque sort of like android, but it's more complete looking. So me and a bunch of randos online think that this is going to be like Data Doll Mark IV or something.
Yeah. They've already set it up too with the whole how they
Oh,
do
it's
Data
Mach
Doll.
3 right now, right?
I think Mark 2.
Yeah.
Oh, it's Mach
Yeah, it's
2.
probably Data Doll Mark 3.
I
So
can
it's
never
Mach
keep track
3?
of the mark
Okay,
numbers,
yeah.
but yeah, the
Maybe we'll
adult
have
version's
one
gonna-
more intelligence.
I want to be surprised. I think
I hope so.
She was a test to see what happens if you have 3 intelligence.
And as it turns out,
it's rough. Yeah. But it was interesting, right, from a design standpoint, because every hero, with the exception of like the Wizards and a couple of the Guardians, has the same stat line. So Data Doll was a chance to see like, well, what happens if you mess with the intellect, which you haven't messed with?
Yeah. But they do, like, Data Doll does have a great ability to be able to make up for that. So we'll see. We'll see what they do with that. Maybe they keep playing with that, and there is actually a 3 hero, and it makes sense. So
Yeah.
I'm super hopeful. I'm really powerfully feeling the Mechanologist right now.
Yeah.
Like probably the best weapon reveal, frankly, with Hanabi Blaster, and then all of this great support stuff. Like I'm freaking out, man.
And I also like that for Mechanologists, they didn't take the easy way out by just printing more boost cards.
Right,
We
they
already
actually-
kind of saw that in Everfest, right? A lot of like
Yeah.
functional reprints essentially of existing boost cards.
Yeah.
But this time they've brought out a new archetype and a new way to like look at Dash that's not like pistol control or boost aggro.
And it's item heavy. It's an item heavy deck, which is you could run that before, but it wasn't particularly viable.
Exactly. Yeah. A lot of the items that aren't like the pistol support are really super situational. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, it like prevents arcane damage, or if they have like something that attacks for 1, it gets -1 and all this stuff.
Okay, well I'm playing Reinar.
Yeah,
I
it's like,
can't
okay.
use any of this.
Yeah.
yeah.
So that's cool. I'm man, this set. We've been talking about this for like 45 minutes or an hour
We
at
have,
this
yeah.
point already, and we could keep talking about this for like 3 more hours. There's just so much content, and it's good stuff too. Like it's not, for the most part, it's not like, wow, this is trash, I don't want this.
Everfest had that issue. A lot of the like spoiler
Potions.
reveals were items like potions and talismans.
Yeah.
So most of them were not. Very
That being
impressive.
said, though, I do see like things for those items to actually be used, like a little bit, right? Like we do have like the item of cremation or the other one that banishes stuff. Since you have Arachne now and your cards are getting banished, that item can actually come into play for yourself really well to be able to do certain maneuvers, which is really cool. So that's interesting. It's kind of like a good sideboard card for just against him. So you'll be able to see maybe some of the items kind of become relevant with the addition of that hero happen. But they're still garbage. They still don't give you a lot. So.
Still though, I love that about Flesh and Blood, because they don't have like a full proper like banning and like illegaling cycle. I don't know what
it's called a rotation.
Thank you. I knew that there was a technical term. My brain just didn't want it right then. Because there's not that formal rotation, like the old cards have new life every time a new set comes out. And you find the new synergies and the new ways to construct the deck to really maximize the old cards in the new meta. And that's just freaking phenomenal.
Yeah, and I think I've seen James White also say that that's a goal when they like print new sets, particularly supplemental sets, and also when we see new class talent combos cycle around, they want to design those heroes in a way that you look at the cards that they weren't going to play, and maybe those get new life in a new hero.
Which is awesome. I love that.
I
played Magic the Gathering for a long time, and I just got so burnt out of like, oh, cool, I have to buy 19 new sets this year because that's how standard works.
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't keep up with that sort of nonsense. So having like a card pool I can use forever, even if I never buy another product, I can still build decks and, you know, have pretty fun cards to play and stuff. That's just fun.
Exactly, yeah.
So what is, I guess let's kind of like sum it up of what is your like one thing you're excited about the most? We'll start with our guest, Jim. Like, what's the one thing that you're like, this is going to be the best thing ever?
Yeah. I think for me, it's got to be Arachne. It's got to be the Assassin class. I'm actually not even really planning to play it at this point, but I just think that new play pattern is really interesting. And I know a lot of people locally are super excited for, you know, just brewing for that hero and playing him and trying him out. So I'm just excited to have a whole new class injected into the CC metagame to kind of mix things up.
Yeah. I like that. Greg, how about you?
I'm in kind of that same place. It's less about Arachne specifically for me and more about the set as a whole really coming in and like trying to change the way that people are playing the heroes. Arachne, of course, is a total unknown quantity at this point. Live testing, of course, is much different than the stuff that like LSS does in the studio and all that kind of stuff. But besides that, just the new avenues available to your Rune Blades and your Mechanologists and your Warriors, kind of seeing that refreshing of some of the more legacy cards and archetypes, that's the most exciting thing for me. And that's honestly like my mind is just like freaking out over new deck builds and stuff. So I'm just excited to like jump in and start playing with stuff and see what works, what doesn't, and what ends up being just a complete left field surprise.
That's awesome. For myself, like, it's dumb. This is like a dumb, like a bad take. I know it. I'm actually really excited to just build something royal just to do it once.
Just
oh my God, yes.
Just give it a shot.
Yeah, just be like, all right, here you go. And like Arachne can kill me. Like,
Crown of Dominance,
but
baby.
I'm excited to like see if there's some hidden cards we don't know about it with the royal aspect, because I feel like there has to be something better than what we've seen so far. So
we haven't seen the Fabled yet, so you never know.
Yeah, looking at
gotta pull that
right. Fabrary has all this laid out by like set number and stuff.
Yeah.
So in between the end of the Illusionist set and the beginning of like the Royal like generic set, there's one that's not been revealed before Crown of Dominion. Excuse me.
Oh, okay.
And then there's like 4 or 5 other cards kind of in that range that we don't know about yet. A couple of those I think are probably going to be like tokens or something like that, but that still leaves several cards that could have that royal sort of effect and flavor that we have no idea about yet. And if the Fabled card is not a royal, they made a huge mistake. They completely missed the boat on that.
Okay.
So hopefully the Fabled has a royal effect. Hopefully it's something great to kind of counterbalance the kind of middling royals that we've had so far. And hopefully royal actually like becomes a viable like sub strategy instead of just some sort of wacky
I just want to build a royal thing and be like, here you go. Like, this is cool. So that's what I'm excited for the most is that, I had a thought when you were talking and I forgot it, but it's all right. So,
it happens.
You'll come back around to it.
One day. But I'm excited for this set. It's a very good set. And, I hope you guys are as hyped as we are as we just nerded out in your eardrums for like an hour. So.
We are, and we are running out of time. So guys, we're not going to do any of our normal recurring segments. This has been kind of a special episode.
No lessons learned?
All right, we can sneak in a quick lessons learned. Matt, what's your lesson?
My lesson is just go out there, have fun, and build some cool stuff.
Cool. Jim, did you learn anything cool this week in Flesh and Blood?
You got to Arsenal if you go turn 0.
You got to Arsenal if you go turn 0. That's good.
I feel like that was directed at me.
That was directed at me. I lost a game because I made a bunch of Ash on Dromai in lieu of an Arsenal, and that lost me the game. Yeah, so don't.
There you go. Lessons from the field. For me, it's just have fun. It's just keep having fun. When it becomes work, when it becomes angry, you've lost the thread somewhere. And with that, everybody, we have satisfied all the contractual obligations that we have with you, our beloved listeners. Guys, we are so happy that you joined us here today.
Jim, thank you for being our first guest for FaBsgiving and really taking good notes and everything.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, I was super excited to be here. Love listening to you guys. So.
And we loved having you. Hopefully we'll see you again soon.
Hope so.
Everybody, I'm Greg.
I'm Matt.
We're the bottom tier, and thank you so much for joining us today. Have a wonderful rest of your day.